about trailering your horses, essentials for your trailer, the safety checks that you need to do before you load your horses and get going on the road, and then all the things that I like to carry in my trailer that I think are essential before I take my horses somewhere. So first things first, I think that you always should do a check around your trailer. Make sure that all of your tires are good, that the pressure's good, that your bearings are good. Make sure your connectors are good for your lights. It's always kind of a good idea to put like a little plastic bag and rubber band it on there onto your connectors, just to make sure no wasps or anything get in there and lay nests or anything like that that could affect your connections potentially. Check all your chains, all of that kind of stuff. Make sure you have your spare tire. Make sure that the pressure's good on that. Which leads me to the inside of the trailer, where I've got all the things inside that I like to carry. One, first and foremost, is your grease gun. You want to make sure you have that and you have the right kind of grease for your bearings. A lug wrench, a block in case you need to change your tire. I always carry Raid spray just in case you're in the part of the country that you get wasps or wasp nests, along with your fly spray for your horses. One of the most important things, I think, is your first aid kit for your horses. I always make sure that I have that in my trailer all the time. Some of the things that I think are really important in your first aid kit, one thing that I put in mine, not everybody does, are just important emergency numbers. That if, God forbid, something happens and I'm not able to tell somebody who I need somebody to call for my animals or my horses, these are some important numbers for me. So I always keep that in there. I've always got little things, little first aid things for me, Motrin and Band-Aids, things like that. For my horses, I've always got tubes of Bute, Banamine, probiotics. I think those are all really good things to have on hand all the time. I always keep tape, wound stop in case somebody is bleeding and you need to stop that, wraps. I've got clear eyes in here, I've got rubber gloves, a pocket knife, vet wraps, some ointments, Corona ointment's a popular one, this Tricare is a good one, I have flare sticks in here, all kinds of things like that that are just kind of essential to always have anytime that you have horses. A little betadine, saline water, I've got all that stuff in here. So that's basically my first aid kit, the basics of it. Then I always have my toolbox here. Of course, mine's pink. But inside my toolbox, I just have some essentials. I have pliers, I have a hole punch in case you need to make an additional hole on, you know, your headstall or something else, leather. I always have a rasp. I always have nippers in case you need to adjust something on your horse's shoes. Another thing that I always do, because I switch my horses back and forth between being shod and not being shod. So when they're not shod, I always have them in trail boots. Well, we went riding the other day. But I always have trail boots, which are good to carry with you anyway, even if your horses have shoes on their feet. In case you ever throw a shoe while you're out riding, you have boots to protect their feet and make sure you're not going to end up with a lame horse. And I always have several sizes of that depending on which horses I have with me. Another thing that I think is really important to always have with you is extra tack, extra headstalls, extra bits, extra reins, extra halters and lead ropes, because you never know when something may break, or you know, somebody else shows up and doesn't have something that they need. Just to make sure that you're always prepared is a good thing. Bell boots, extra spurs. I've always got a little baggie in my boot box with extra leathers, extra chains, things like that in case anything else breaks. I always have extra Chicago screws. Another thing that's obviously one of the basics that you always want to have with you is water. I always carry these 2 big jugs of water for my horses, and I also have a 5-gallon jug at the back of my trailer. Buckets so that they can actually drink their water. I always carry hay with me, whether I'm going obviously just on a day trip or if I'm going overnight. You got to make sure that you bring enough hay and enough water for your horses and the amount of horses that you bring. Another thing I really like to bring is just a feed bag, like a little grazing bag, because if you're out on the trail, it's really nice to be able to put whatever is safe for your horse to eat in here so that he's not getting into things that he doesn't need to be eating. I always have in here in my trailer grain bags, which is, I don't know if I can reach in there with that on top, but this, I put all my grain and things like that in there just so it stays airtight and safe. Nothing else can get in there. I always have blankets, extra fly masks, things like that, just in case anything were to happen. I think that's always kind of a good rule of thumb to carry with you. I always have treats for my horses because they get sad when I don't have that. I always have a gun with me, whether it's on me when I'm riding, or I have one in my trailer all the time, and I carry extra rounds for that. You always want to have your grooming stuff, all your grooming essentials, which mine hangs here on the wall and just kind of keeps it neat and out of the way. I always have a pocket knife. I've always got mane brushes, you know, body brushes, curry combs, all of that kind of stuff, rags. I always have a lantern. I always have a flashlight. I always have extra batteries for that. I always like to keep a laminated copy of all of my horse's Coggins tests and brand inspections, just depending on where you're going. That way you know you always have that stuff with you. I always have a cooler in my trailer for water and drinks for me. I always have some kind of trash receptacle to keep all of my litter in my trailer so I can pack it out with me when I leave. In this little bin, I always carry, you know, just little essentials, girly essentials, like lotions and brushes and things like that for me. I carry lighter, extra flashlights, extra batteries, extra bullets for my guns. I always have some portable chairs. I always have an extra coat with me because you never know if you're going to get stuck out somewhere. I've always got plenty of gloves. I've always got some chinks. I always have an extra rope. I always have snacks because I'm always hungry and I get grumpy if I don't eat. So I've always got snacks with me. I have a bed and stuff in my trailer, so sometimes, you know, you can take blankets or whatever you think that you might need, especially if you're going overnight. But I always have that here in my trailer. In the back of my trailer, that leads me to other things that you really have to pack out when you leave. I put shavings at the bottom of my trailer because it's just more comfortable for my horses when we go somewhere. It's a little easier on their legs. So I always have extra shavings here with me. I always have a muck bucket and a rake so that you can pack out any of your horse's waste. I always have a little safety cone that just pops up just when you're loading or unloading your horses out of the trailer so that people know to kind of be alert and be on the lookout for that. One thing that I really like are screens on my windows, and this trailer, when I got this one, actually didn't have these, and these aren't exactly the right size, but I kind of made them work. Especially if I'm going somewhere long distance, I really like to have these screens because I'm always afraid that some kind of debris or cigarette butts that people throw out the windows, things like that, could come in here and potentially hurt my horses or start a fire. I'm just maybe a little bit extra paranoid, but I like to have that as just an extra safety precaution. So I think that's kind of the gist of what I carry in my trailer, and I'm probably forgetting 100 things because there's so many things I think with horses that you always want to have with you. But those are kind of the basics that I think are really important. I think safety first, always. Make sure your horses are comfortable. Make sure you have everything that they need, food, water. Make sure that you have all of your tires and things like that checked. Make sure that your trailer is hooked up properly. And you're on the road to have a great day out and about with your horses.